Yep. Fire away when ready. Oh my God, can you believe it? It is the NBA tip-off show powered by WagerTalk.com. The 2024-25 season. It is upon us, people, and it is good to be back as we welcome back two of the staples of the NBA tip-off show. One and only, Double R, 1L, Steve Merrill in the house, and the prop god himself, Andy Lang, ready to roll. Gentlemen, can't believe it. NBA is here. We've had about a week and a half under our belt already. So let us dive in with none other than the contrarian gods who have spoken already here this week. And they are coming back with a game where the public seems to be running to bet one side, while the contrarian guards are looking at the home dog, and that home dog is the New Orleans Pelicans here tonight at home, taking on Andy's Indiana Pacers. We're seeing 4.5 in the marketplace. The story here, of course, injuries for both of these teams, but namely the New Orleans Pelicans, Steve Merrill. But they still have Zion. They still have, of course, Brandon Ingram. No C.J. McCollum, Trey Murphy, and others. But is that enough where they should be getting this many points at home with an Indiana team that has been playing a lot of basketball lately?
Yeah, this is a tricky card for me tonight, Joe. There's 9 games on the board, several situational spots I was kind of looking at as possible best bets for my clients. But like you just said, there's injuries in a ton of these games, and this is a spotlight injury game right here. Pelicans missing like half their rotation. Looks like Pacers might have 2 starters out tonight as well. Something I've talked about on a lot of different shows, like Wager Talk today, last call over the weekend, is that last couple of seasons, just blindly play those shorthanded teams with the adjusted line value. You've made money. It's a little trickier in this game, though, when both teams are missing key players. One thing we often see in these games is the total gets hit as well, 236.5 down to 232.5. So I think we could be a little contrarian also by taking the over in this game. You know, both teams might be a little shorthanded, but every player in the NBA was basically an all-star for his college basketball team, if he even played in college. And also they step up when they get the opportunity. So, look, I'm going to take contrarian call here on the side and the total. I'd lean over as well.
You're going to lean over in this one. And, Andy, nobody knows this Pacers team like you do, though. But what are you thinking? 4.5 we're starting to see right now, 232.5. Feels like a lot of points and a big expectation for the Pacers. They still have Zion and company here. So what are you thinking?
Yeah, the Pacers have been clunky this season. We kind of knew that. They're working Mathurin back into the rotation. This is the first full season of Pascal Siakam, and you've seen it. I mean, their offensive rating so far this season, that's supposed to be their strong point. They're 22nd. So not getting it done offensively. And, of course, defensively, they're not that great. They don't have the personnel to be that great. They're 22nd. So you got a team that's not playing great offense night in and night out, and a team that's not playing great defense night in, night out. That's a real good recipe for not covering the spread as a favorite. The Nembhard situation, I'm sure the NBA called and wondered why he played 5 minutes and then they yanked him out of the game with tendinitis. Coach was like, no, I found out right before the national anthem. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
You can do better. You can do better. You can do better than that. So yeah, the only way to play it is to take the points. This is a Pacers team that, you know, they have playoff aspirations. I think they believe they can win a couple rounds, but they just have to work out the kinks with this roster. And you're going to see a lot of different lineups. You're going to see some weird minutes from different guys. And they have not figured out their crunch time. Like, what do we do when it's crunch time? I mean, they beat the Celtics, but my gosh, they almost blew it bad in the fourth quarter. And they got to figure out who gets the ball when it's really, really important possessions. So I'm not ready to bet on the Pacers to cover spread. But this has got to be a Miles Turner game. I mean, he's questionable. If he plays, you have a questionable Daniel Tice and absolutely no depth in the front court for the bigs. Miles Turner, his point total is 14.5. His 3-pointers are 1.5. He's going to get plenty of open looks. So it's got to be a Miles Turner game tonight.
Yeah, I mean, they're just coming off that big win over the Celtics in overtime, which they let everybody back into that game. But now got to travel to New Orleans. So the contrarian gods, they are looking at that home dog, the New Orleans Pelicans. And a big shout out to those of you guys joining us once again for another edition here of the NBA Tip-Off Show powered by WagerTalk. Hit that subscribe and like button when you get a chance. We certainly appreciate it. Look like we're seeing some old friends back in the chat room live here on the show today with Ave Cash. A Life in Vegas is here. Eric D in the house. And a big shout out to those of you guys joining us not only on Instagram but TikTok as well. All right. Let's talk about a couple of featured matchups here tonight. The first one is going to be with the red-hot Cleveland Cavaliers taking on the Orlando Magic, who just got absolutely devastating news over the last 24 hours. Things were looking so well for Boncaro, and now they're not, because now he's pretty much lost for the season with the knee injury. But that really, I don't even know at this particular point, is anybody stopping Steve Merrill, this Cleveland Cavs team that seemed to be on a mission. It's a big number now, what, 8.5? But wow, the Cavs are chucking up threes. The Magic are chucking up threes, maybe a total in this look. What do you do here?
If you look at Orlando's gone over 4 of their 5 games. Early under was that last game against Chicago. Meanwhile, Cleveland 3-2 to the over this year. Off to a 60% start this year in the NBA. Be off to a 4-1, 80% start had the Magic not blown a 15-point lead against the Bulls the other night. And I thought I chalked that one up as a winner when they're up by 15 because Chicago's a terrible defensive team. So don't like the regression there. And then, as you mentioned, Banchero being out now maybe for the season. Wagner, by the way, is questionable with an illness. It says available. So they could be shorthanded here. I would lean towards Orlando once again, the 7.5. It's that same theory, right? Play the shorthanded team. But you're right, Joe. You're definitely going up against it, right? Cleveland is the best team right now in the NBA. Not only are they 5-0 straight up, but they're number 1 offensive rating and they're the number 3 defensive rating. So they've been fantastic. I'll play contrarian in this one, though, and lean Orlando, but it's hard to make a case for them on paper.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, but, Andy, we've seen this and heard this before, right? The fallen star trend, right? So your main guy goes down, everyone rallies around and goes, all right, let's pick him up. But he's going to be out for a while here, and I don't know it's going to be that easy to replace him, especially against this Cavs team. So how would you look at this game here tonight? Would it be just Cavs? Would there be a prop or two? More threes from Orlando? How do you approach it?
Yeah, this is a real tough one. I mean, Orlando, their Achilles heel last season was they couldn't score. They've been scoring this year, but all because of Banchero. So now, I mean, look at this roster here. So Banchero averaging 29 points. Second highest is Wagner, 17.8. Suggs, 16.8. The other Wagner at 11.0. Cupboard's bare here. I'm with Steve that you do want to go contrarian because on paper it's like, oh, it just looks so easy. Cleveland should smash them. I think Cleveland could smash them tonight. There's a prop on DraftKings. Biggest lead, 26 points. It's plus 320. Oof. I think it's worth a little bit of sprinkle if Cleveland gets out. This is a Cleveland team that's playing arguably the best defense in the league, definitely top 3. So you could look at that. I look to these role players and for props. KCP, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, his prop is 9.5 points. He has got to be better. This guy's averaging 28.8 minutes and 5.6 points per game. Come on, KCP. So you got to look to the veterans. If you're Orlando, he's got to show some leadership. He's got to get some points. Inside, I don't see this going well for Wendell Carter Jr. tonight. So where the points got to come from, probably the perimeter. I'm interested to see what Anthony Black has over the next few weeks. This is a really good chance to see what he's doing. But props, I mean, come on, KCP. You got to be better than 9.5 points tonight for sure. So I think Cleveland drops the hammer on him tonight, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, his workload has to increase, but you're right. I mean, he has been 16.7% from 3, KCP. Jesus, my God. I'm pretty sure Merrill with hair could hit more threes than what KCP has absolutely been doing. Let's see if there he is. Yeah, see, exactly. Yeah, there he is right there. Merrill, that's right. Bring him on back. There you go, Josh
Loves.
Giddey.
Sponsored by Love's Truck Stops.
That's right. That's sponsored by a lot
Michael
of hair
McDowell,
here.
Andy McLean.
Yes.
Well, that looking good. Cleveland, by the way, guys, 5-0 straight up and against the number. They are also leading the league in three-point shooting at 41.1%. They just torched the Lakers from beyond deep. The Magic might not have any choice but to go ahead and bring it and chuck it up there. All right, guys. Eric D in the house. Jack Falk in the house. Took Detroit here tonight. He says Have reminds everyone the Cavs are playing the Bucks tomorrow. Well, what the hell does that mean? Because the Bucks could very well be trading Giannis before it's all said and done. That's right. You heard it here first. We do have another main game here tonight, a featured matchup, one that might look familiar because, well, we just saw it a few months ago, did we not? With the Denver Nuggets going to war with the Minnesota Timberwolves in last year's postseason. A lot of fun watching that, but now Minnesota's at home. Denver, what is this, like their third road game in a row? Last two games were overtime. They barely beat Toronto by 2. They have absolutely no bench scoring. Minnesota's still trying to figure it out without Karl Anthony Towns. What are you thinking here, Merrill? I'd love to say, yeah, Minnesota can win this, but do we trust them yet with this new look team?
Yeah, playoff revenge for Denver. The defending world champs were eliminated last year, if I recall, by Minnesota. What did that do? Go down to 7 games. Remember, Minnesota won the first 2 at Denver, and then Denver won the next 2 in Minnesota. So the home team was 2-5 straight up in those 7 meetings, I believe, last year. But I do think it shows Minnesota can match up with them. I know it's a little bit of a different rotation now, and it is tempting to take Denver getting points against anybody, but this is a Denver team that's 0-4 straight up right now. I don't think it's the same team. I thought they'd be weaker last, or 0-4 against the spread, rather. 2-2 straight up, but they're 0-4 against the spread. My point being that they've been overvalued in the betting market. So don't just jump on them as a dog for the first time this season. If you look at the WagerTalk live odds screen, you see mostly -4s out there, but some of the sharper books have gone to 4.5, 4 -15. I do think Minnesota's the correct side in this game. Should be a nice game to watch. And I think when all is said and done this year, Minnesota will be the better team as well. A little bit early in the season, but I'd still rather have the T-Wolves, who I think are better overall. And as we saw last year, they are capable of beating the Nuggets.
Yeah, they're very capable of beating the Nuggets. That is for sure. And I mean, not impressed. What else can we say here, Andy, with what we've gotten from Denver so far? I mean, there are some issues with this team. Depth is a big issue, I think, with them. Not exactly sure this is a great spot that I'd want to back them here because, let's face it, and we mentioned it, right? Barely beat lowly Toronto by 2. Last 2 games, overtime. The Joker is responsible for just about every point that they need here. I don't know. This feels like a good spot and a low number to back Minnesota, but there's got to be a prop in here too, no?
Yeah, I'll give you 2 props. One's a future, one's a play for tonight. Yeah, play for tonight is Christian Braun, 9.5 points. This guy's cashed every single game. I don't think the books have quite caught on to how many minutes the starters are playing. And they have to. The bench it's got to be the most top-heavy team in the league. Like, you go look at the bench numbers. Westbrook, 19 minutes. Strother, 19 minutes. Peyton Watson, 15 minutes. And Saric, when he gets out there, looks so bad. He is an absolute liability, but they got to play him. So Christian Braun's averaging over 35 minutes. I know there's some overtime games in there. It's averaging 14 points per game. He's just getting there by sheer volume. He's getting there because he's on the court the entire time. He's making at least, I think he's made 1 3-pointer in the last couple games. He's really good from the free throw line, and he's gone over this. I think we're getting limited with how many times we can play Christian Braun over because the books are eventually going to catch up to how many minutes he's playing. So, yeah, I think you're playing Minnesota. Porter's been terrible. He's averaging 13.3 points. Murray, his production's down 18.8 points. That's with 2 overtime games, one against Brooklyn, once against Toronto. Here's a future for you. You can grab the Nuggets under 49.5 wins still. This is not a team built. This is not a team built for the regular season. They are 1 injury away on that starting lineup from a disaster. They are 2 injuries away from being an absolutely low-level team. Like, if one of these guys gets hurt in the starting lineup, Who's going in there to fill the spot? It's a gigantic drop.
Yep.
This is a team that is I mentioned it being top heavy. This is a disaster for a regular season. You're depending on Jamal Murray, who's had injury problems, and Michael Porter, who's had injury problems, to all of a sudden become the healthiest guys that are going to play all these games. I don't see it. I've played this for clients, and I played this myself. Absolutely. Under 49.5 wins. I don't see it for them this season.
I love the way you're looking that, because they really do. It looks like, them in Milwaukee have a lot of the same characteristics, just not the same supporting cast. And you're just one injury away from your superstar being absolutely horrific and possibly even missing the playoffs here. But good spot, small number, -4. And I do believe this is the front end of a back-to-back here with these two teams. So, but it has not been a good run. I mean, they're getting the wins, good old Denver, but as Lester in the chat room points out, man, they can't bet Denver right now. It's Minnesota or pass. But Merrill, they are asking a life in Vegas in the chat. Joker double-double tonight? Probably not a bad look. It's probably juice, though, too, no?
Yeah, I haven't checked many NBA props. I dig more, of course, during the playoffs, but I know and Andy, of course, looks at this more than I do, but I do know in the playoffs, and most of the time last year, Jokic gets double-doubles, so I'm sure it's pretty juiced. And I wouldn't be against it. I mean, I don't think he's necessarily the problem with Denver this year. I just don't think they're quite as talented as they were in years past.
What are you thinking, Andy? I mean, a double-double, it seems like, yeah, just blindly bet it, but my goodness, is there any chance he doesn't get it here?
He better have a double-double or Denver.
Yeah. That's what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, you could hedge that by playing Minnesota -4, and then if the Jokic does have the double-double, I'd say your point spread bet is in pretty good shape with Minnesota, probably.
Yep.
It's -500, so yeah, it's -500.
Yeah, I was to say it's at least 300 or 400. Yeah, that's
-500. Well,
I will predict he has a double-double. Then I've got an 85% chance of being right.
Now I hope he pulls a calf in warm-ups, man, and he's out after 30 seconds, and we're good to go there. My goodness,
well, I was going to say he'd have to play though, right? If it's in warm-ups, he's got to take the court still, right? So yeah, it's got to be a minute into the game. Yes.
Yeah, but only in the beginning there. Maybe let him go out there and try to start play through it. But -5, I think the market is telling you yes. There's probably a good chance that he gets at least a double-double, if not a triple-double in that one there. Guys, don't forget, hit that subscribe and like button if you haven't done so already. We certainly appreciate you guys joining us. If you are live here like the old school D-Gens, pleasure to see you guys in the chat rooms. Once again, you got a game or a question, drop them in there for Steve Merrill and Andy Lang here as we're kicking off the NBA tip-off show here on WagerTalk.com. We do have a couple of best bets coming, but Andy, I wanted to get to a feature we're going to have with you this season that was pretty popular last year, and nobody crushed it more than you did. Some same-game parlays, my man, and no better sport to accomplish and cash tickets with an SGP than the NBA. So what are we looking at on the schedule here tonight? Which game did you focus on?
Yeah, so same game parlays, they can be really tricky when you're doing them in these daily sports. The way that I attack them is you see on social media like, oh, I cashed this, 1,000 to 1 same game parlay. That's not the way that we do parlays. And the way we do parlays is we're trying to take some big favorites. We're trying to get closer to even money. I can say that with confidence, because we've made 158 units in parlays the last 3 years. We've been profitable every single year. I know Kelly in Vegas says parlays are for losers. I would like to say we are the exception to that rule. So I'm looking at this Brooklyn Nets team, and I will tell you, this Brooklyn Net team is very bettable. I've cashed a couple bets on them. We hit their team total against this Denver Nuggets team. They are really fun to watch. I got to tell you, that's like been one of the biggest surprises that's under the radar is the Brooklyn Nets. So let's take a look at how we can make money off the Nets and the Bulls. I'm going to start with the Nets team total over 105.5. This is a team that's scoring and they're pushing the pace. They put up 119 against Memphis, 139 in overtime against Denver, 115 against the Bucks, and 116 against Atlanta. The only time they didn't go over this total was against Orlando with Banchero, one of the best defensive teams. So I think the Nets are going to score. Dennis Schroeder to make 2 3-pointers. This is another surprise. He's number 6 so far in the NBA in made 3-pointers. This guy has made 6, 5, 5, and 3 the last 4 games, and he's attempting 7.6 3-pointers per game. So we get Schroeder, who we know is going to chuck the ball up, and he's been shooting the ball pretty well. And then we're going to go to Vucevic over 15.5 points. The Brooklyn Nets are the single worst team guarding centers. They allow, Joe, hold on to your butts, 29 points per game to the center. They cannot guard any center. They are easily the worst team guarding center. So we're going to take Vucevic over 15.5 points. We're going to pull that all together, and that is about minus 135 on DraftKings. So that's your same game parlay. Yes. And the biggest surprise is who's the best team. I would give you a ton of guesses you'd never guess. Portland Trailblazers, the best team guarding centers. How about that? How about that? DeAndre Ayton, 15 points per game.
Wow, I would not have looked at. My goodness. Jack Falk, by the way, in the chat says, as a full season ticket holder, I am done with Vucevic. Dude is quote unquote trash. No, he's unrelated to the SGP, Andy. He just wanted to throw that out there. That in fact, Vucevic was all trash. I appreciate you sharing, Jack Falk. That's what this show is all about. It's about sharing is caring, and that's exactly what we do here. We appreciate that. Big shout out to what do we got? Lester in there. Glitch Mod is in there making fun of his mother, I think, or something along those lines. Big shout out to Cameron Clay on Instagram, as well as Right Side 20 on TikTok. As you guys can tell, we are everywhere here on all the platforms. So make sure you're following, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and get ready, because we do have some best bets. And, oh, man, Big Daddy just showed up right on time, Big Daddy. My goodness. What are you hanging out with S. Warrior? What's going on with that? We're not talking Miami today, so we won't see S. Warrior, no doubt. But it's always a pleasure to see you guys. But let's dive into a couple of best bets here. And, Merrill, we'll start with you. Tell the folks what you got going on. A loaded weekend here. I can't believe college hoops, by the way, starts next week. But NBA action, college football, NFL. Merrill, what are you looking at here this week?
Yeah, this really is a great time of the year to be in all sports, all access. We still have college and pro football. College hoops starts next week, as you mentioned. And, of course, the NBA is here. NBA alone, I've won over 200 units the last 3 years. And just the NBA, we got off to a perfect 3-0 start this season. Would be 4-1 if the Magic hadn't blown that 15-point lead, but we're still winning in the NBA, and there's plenty more to come with college hoops next week. College and pro football has been great all year. In fact, all sports combined. Just finished baseball, and boy, was it a great baseball season, but up over 170 units at the end of October, and we still have 2 more months to go here in 2024. Special 1-year all access gets it down to about $1 per play. Details on my homepage with promo code SM365. But we also have an NBA special this week, which is no promo code required. A $149 30-day NBA special. If you want to try out the NBA for the next 30 days and nights, get it for just $149. That works out to less than $5 a day. Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com. And you see that shortcut to get there quicker, WT.buzz/SM. Let's look at a free play tonight on Friday in the NBA. A lot of injuries in many of these games, but one game I do like is the Sacramento Kings minus the 6.5. And opened at 4.5. This was very close to being a client best bet. It has gone up to 6.5. I don't like giving up that much line value, but I still think the Kings are likely to win this by double digits. Only 2 teams in the NBA have not covered a point spread this season, the 0-4 Nuggets and the 0-5 ATS Atlanta Hawks. And we say, oh, well, they're due. The line has moved a couple points. Now there's value, but there's not, because Atlanta, 4 of those 5 games they haven't covered, they've been a point spread favorite, and they've lost some of them outright. So the market has been way off on how bad Atlanta is. And I think the market is also undervaluing Sacramento, who's a lot better than their mediocre 2-2 straight-up start. The 2 losses have come in competitively priced games. The 2 straight-up wins against Portland is a 13-point favorite. They win by 13. And then against Utah a couple nights ago, they win as a 6.5-point favorite in altitude. They win by 17. I look for another double-digit win here against a bad team in Atlanta tonight. And because it's a road game, we get a discounted price. And you just look at some of the net ratings right now. Sacramento has the 5th best net rating in the NBA behind the Warriors, Cavs, Thunder, and Celtics. So they're in pretty good company. Underrated team against an overrated team. Lay the short number. I know it's moved a little bit, but there's still some value with Sacramento minus 6.5. And by the way, I do have 3 advanced college football best bets for this Saturday locked and loaded right now. Yet another reason to be an All Sports All Access subscriber, because you get the plays instantly emailed to you when they're released. And with that promo code SM365, it works out to about $1 per play for the next 365 days and nights. Check it out right now. Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com.
Yeah, they're all banged up, Merrill, aren't they, Atlanta? I mean, no DeAndre Hunter, no Bogdanovich, Dyson Dan.
Yep.
They've got all they have really is Trae Young and Jalen Johnson. I think that's it. Everyone else seems to be hurt on this team. Oh, man, it's tough. They are, aren't they every year one of the worst cover teams in the NBA, Merrill? Every
good
year
point.
we go to Atlanta and go, what are you doing, Atlanta?
But you talk about that, though, in other sports as well. The Detroit Lions continue to be money, with Dan Campbell. They're like 43-18 against the spread now or something. We saw that with the Orioles in baseball. They had the worst money line record like 2 years straight. They've been the best money line team the last 2.5 years, 3 years now since. So you're right, Joe. Atlanta, I think, was it last year? All the years run together for me. But I think last year or the year before, they started that season with the worst start in NBA history against the point spread. So these things don't just even out like overnight. They kind of trend for a while, and I'd be very careful with Atlanta. And normally I don't like to play against shorthanded teams. You get that injury bump. But the fact they have Trae Young, they still have their superstar. I don't think this really qualifies as one of those play on the injured team with adjusted line value.
Yeah, no. And by the way, Sacramento's going to have to shoot the rock a little bit better. They're 19th in three-point shooting right now, 34% on the season. Going to need to make a few more there, Sacramento. But they are at Atlanta, and they are laying it here tonight at 6.5. All right, Andy Lack. Great same game parlay. I don't know if you know this, but Vucevic is trash. Nothing to do with the same game parlay, but we appreciate the thought there. And your best bet here tonight, what game you focusing on for us?
We're going to take a look at the Trailblazers and the Thunder. We do have a promo code available for a 3-day pass. Why is this important? Well, we got a 4% NBA play that is up tonight, and we are 4-0 to start the NBA season. We have a 5% UFC play that goes off tomorrow and a 5% college football play. So we have a monster weekend. There's no reason to buy these individual plays. One 5% play is $35. Use the promo code Andy3, and it gets you a 3-day pass for only $39. And this includes NFL plays, where we've hit 70% in October, and we are plus 163 units in 2024. So things could not be going better short-term and long-term. We're on an 8-2 run to start this week, and we got a lot of momentum going into the weekend. So, again, no reason to buy individual packages. 3-day pass for $39, promo code Andy3. I'm going to lean to the under on this Thunder and Trailblazers game. It's around 221 and a half. This is the Oklahoma City Thunder that's by far the best team in defensively in terms of points per game. They're averaging 94.8. The opponents are of the Thunder. And Portland, not that bad. They're 15th. They're only allowing 112.8. And when you look at this Thunder team, they've really only hammered Atlanta. They beat San Antonio. It was 105-93. Denver 102-87. Chicago 114-95. That didn't get close to this. The only game that's gone over is Atlanta. And like you mentioned, Atlanta is just all banged up. Their defense is horrible even when they're healthy. So I'm looking at a Portland team. I mentioned it earlier. They're number one in allowing points to centers. And you look at their last couple games, 106-105 against Clippers, 111-98. Both these teams are not scoring a ton of points, and they're not that fast paced. That's the other thing is both these teams are not in the top 10 in terms of pace. So I think this 221 and a half is just a little bit too high. So I'll lean the under in this one.
Well, I'm in the under in this one there, 221 and a half, OKC and Portland tonight. Do want to mention also, I'll bring it up. We're starting to see some money coming in on the New York Knicks. 6.5. I'm starting to see 7s popping up. They're taking on Detroit here in what is an interesting game. I mean, listen, the Pistons have had a hell of a start to the season. New coach in JB Bickerstaff there. They've had to play the Pacers, the Cavs, the Celtics, and the Heat. I mean, it's not been an easy stretch. They did just beat the Sixers. I mean, the Knicks beat Miami because Karl Anthony Towns went off, but it's my understanding Karl Anthony Towns is dealing with a sprained left wrist, Merrill, and he still looks to be questionable. I don't know if the push up to -7 is because they think he's going, but it still feels like a big number with the Knicks on the road again against a feisty Detroit team. I don't like the depth on the Knicks here. I don't think Big Daddy likes them either here. Are you, is there any value in looking at Detroit at home, or are they another stay away team?
Well, first of all, Big Daddy is sharp. So I do listen to Big Daddy. He's one of our loyal viewers. He's one of our sharper viewers as
Boom!
well. I will say this about the Knicks. You look at the offense and defensive ratings. You mentioned the tough schedule so far. Their offensive rating is still top 10 in the NBA. Their defensive rating is like 25th, though. So that's been the problem. They've actually gone 2-2 over-under, though. You would think there'd be more overs during that span. Pistons start off 0-4. They get the win as a dog against the Sixers the other night. That was actually the only other NBA game I missed. I talked about that blown lead by the Magic. I liked the Sixers in that game, so I don't know what to make of that. I thought that was a bizarre result. But, yeah, Detroit is not a team I'm looking to back anytime in the near future. And I do think New York, off to the 2-2 start, has plenty of motivation not to overlook this game. And they're off for the next 2 days. They don't play until Monday at Houston. So this looks like a pretty focused spot for New York tonight.
Yeah, and we got one more question coming in here, Andy. You were the one last year, was it not last year, the year before, where we just went on this stretch, you'd come on the show and we bet Tatum over on his rebounds. And it was just like nothing but, it was absurd. Like everyone looks for Tatum for points, right? Or threes. And yet you came on and he kept giving out his rebound prop and he was absolute money. And I mean, no Al Horford, no Kristaps Porzingis. They're not getting any love in the market because it does look like the market is backing here the Hornets tonight. But with them down a couple of guys, are we still looking at a Tatum rebound prop here this year?
Yeah, we could. I normally wait for a couple weeks into the season to try and find these streaks. There was a Trae Young under 2.5 made threes. I think he went 21 games. I think he went 21 games in a row without hitting it. But yeah, the markets are tough to adjust. I will tell you, Anthony Edwards is 4 for 4 on his over 5.5 rebounds. For the Celtics, I think the play with the Celtics, you guys, if you're a big Celtics fan in the chat, you may know this better. I believe their first half over is the one that everyone's been playing. Their starting lineup just hammers teams, like hammers them to start. They may not have gotten over against the Pacers, but that's one that seems to be hitting quite a bit. Tatum and his points. Tatum has his select teams that he does amazing against, like my Pacers. Yeah, like crushes them. Like it's not even fair. So it's with Tatum, it can be a little bit matchup dependent, and the Celtics have so many weapons. If it's a Jaylen Brown night, maybe it's a Jaylen Brown night. But yeah, look at Boston on their team total or the first half team total.
Yeah. Now, are you shocked, Merrill, that we haven't seen this go the other way? I mean, they are coming off that loss in overtime to the Pacers. They're still 4-1 against the number. Charlotte's been, competitive at least through the first 4 games, but I'm shocked that this opened 11. We're seeing 10 and a half now. So the market's not exactly running behind the Celtics here, even at double digits, huh?
Yeah, Boston's so tricky. I mean, we see them lose games like this, right? They can beat anybody by 30. They can set NBA. Well, I mean, they could have set the NBA 3-point record. All they had to do is hit 1-3 in like the last 7 or 8 minutes of the game. I mean, it's just so random how hot or cold. And they're a really good team again this year. First of all, they're coming off a loss. I'm never looking to fade a quality team in a focused spot. And this is obviously a quality team. You would expect it to be a focused spot off their first loss of the season. Interesting scheduling dynamic. They play in Charlotte again tomorrow night. So this is a sit and wait for me, Joe, but it could set up an interesting angle tomorrow. I mean, I will say this. If Boston was to lose outright tonight, I would really like him tomorrow unless there's an injury or something.
Yeah, I mean, he's what he's got. You're right about Tatum. I mean, he's got 37 points in 3 games already. Like he is just apparently not holding back at all, Jason Tatum, in this spot. But the market not exactly in love with him here tonight, as the money's still holding strong with the Charlotte Hornets. And if you guys are joining us here live on the show, what are you waiting for? Hit that like button for us, the thumbs up. Make sure you hit the subscribe button as we are back here for the NBA Tip-Off Show. Another season, a little bit different this season, guys, for you loyals there on our WagerTalk NBA Tip-Off Show, Army, Big Daddy and company. So the gig this year is we're going to try to concentrate the shows around the big card days where we get a lot of games, not where we're going to be talking about, 3 games or 4 games on the card. We've got plenty of standalone videos. Merrill does them, Andy does them, all the guys at Wager Talk do them for games, for days that don't have a ton of games on the card. You can watch the individual, and we encourage you guys to check out Steve Merrill's videos, Andy's videos, and other on those days. But when we've got the big cards like we do tonight, we will absolutely be here. We're going to try and push the show a little earlier this year, maybe between 3 and 3:30 p.m. But you will absolutely, if you hit that subscribe button or hit that bell in the upper right-hand corner, you guys know the routine. You will get notified when we go live here. So get ready. It's going to be one hell of a season. We'll be back again, of course, next week. Full card. Don't forget, we're going to be doing a lot of NBA talk over the weekend on Saturdays and last call as well. So we've got you covered on the big slates on Saturday and all throughout the week. When we've got, 6, 7, 8, 9 or more games, we'll be here with you with the NBA Tip-Off Show. So as always, we appreciate the time, guys. Hit that subscribe button. Make sure you come back and get ready for a full week of the NBA Tip-Off Show starting on Monday. On behalf of Merrill and Andy, we appreciate the time as always, guys. It's good to be back. Let's cash those tickets. Another NBA season is upon us. We'll see you again next week, man. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you again soon. Yeah, except I'm still on the vertical. So can you get, thank you. Thank you. Yep. There